All right, are you ready for this? Today, we're diving into the world of Instagram video downloading in 2024.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
Right. I mean, honestly, who hasn't scrolled through their feed and thought, man, I wish I could save this?
Yeah, I've definitely been there.
Turns out, we're not alone. A lot of people feel that way.
Really?
Yep. We're basing this deep dive on a recent article from PPC Land, and it basically confirms what we've all been thinking. Searches for Instagram video download are actually trending upwards.
Wow, that's surprising. I would have thought with all the features Instagram already has, people wouldn't need to download.
Right. It's like Instagram keeps adding ways to keep you in the app, but people still want that offline access.
It's like the allure of the forbidden download button.
Haha, exactly. But before we get into how people are doing this, I think it's worth recapping how video has become such a dominant force on Instagram.
Oh, definitely. Remember when it was all about those perfectly curated photos?
Yeah, filters galore. Feels like ages ago.
Ancient history, practically. I mean, we've seen the rise of stories, that whole IGTV phase.
Which, let's be honest, never quite took off the way they hoped.
Yeah. But then, boom, Reels enter the scene.
And just exploded in popularity.
It's crazy, 57.4% year-over-year growth.
That's a ton of new video content flooding Reels every single day. No wonder people are looking for ways to snag those gems.
Yeah, it's like curating your own personal highlight reel.
Totally. Okay, so let's get to the nitty-gritty. How are people actually doing this? The article breaks it down into a few main methods, and honestly, I was surprised by the variety.
I'm all ears.
So first up, we've got browser extensions. Those are great for a quick, easy download.
Yeah, I've seen those.
One example they highlighted is the downloader for Instagram Toolmaster. Apparently, it has over 80,000 users just on the Chrome Web Store.
80,000, that's a lot of download.
Right, and then there's the online downloader websites, which are super handy because you don't need to install anything.
Oh yeah, those are convenient.
Like Save Insta seems to be a popular one. The cool thing is it works on pretty much any device, PC, Mac, Android, iOS, you name it.
Pretty impressive.
And of course, for the mobile-first folks, there are entire apps dedicated to Instagram video downloading.
Oh yeah, those have been around for a while.
Right. And they often come with extra features like batch downloading.
Makes sense.
But here's where things get a little interesting. They even have options for downloading from private accounts.
Wait, hold on. Downloading from private accounts, is that even allowed?
That's a great question, and it definitely blurs the lines a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a private account, shouldn't the content be, well, private?
That's the ethical dilemma, and we're going to dive into all of that in a bit. But before we get there, I'm curious about the technical side of things. Like, what kind of quality are we talking about with these downloads?
Right. Are we getting blurry messes or crisp high-def videos?
Exactly. And what about those annoying watermarks? I've seen some downloaded videos that are practically plastered with them.
Ugh, yeah, those are the worst.
Totally ruins the viewing experience.
So what's the deal? What kind of quality can we expect? And are there ways to deal with those pesky watermarks?
Mm.
Okay, so quality and watermarks, right? Let's break it down.
Yeah, those are the big questions.
Most downloaders will offer a range of quality options, usually up to 1080p.
Oh, okay, so that's pretty standard HD these days.
Yeah, exactly. And typically the videos are in MP4 format using something called the H.264 codec.
Kodak, that sounds kind of technical.
It is a bit, but basically it's just a way of compressing the video file. And the good news is H.264 is pretty widely compatible. So chances are you'll be able to play those downloaded videos on pretty much any device.
That's good to know. But what about those watermarks? Any tips on how to get rid of those?
Yeah, the watermark struggle is real.
It really is.
The article mentioned a few ways people try to deal with them.
Yeah.
Like there are some tools specifically designed for watermark removal.
Oh,
You
interesting.
can also try just cropping them out if they're like in a corner.
Makes sense.
Or if you're feeling a little more ambitious, you could use video editing software to like mask them out.
So there are options, but I gotta ask, are all of those methods like okay to do?
That's a good question. Removing a watermark gets into, well, kind of legal gray area
Yeah.
and really depends on how you're planning to use the downloaded content.
Right. Like if it's just for your personal collection, that's one thing.
Exactly. But if you're thinking of resharing it publicly or using it commercially, that's where things can get a little tricky.
Definitely. Okay, so we've covered the how-to, we've touched on the technical stuff, but I think it's time to address the big elephant in the room, the ethical side of all of this.
Right. We know how to download, but should we?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I have a feeling there's no easy answer.
Oh, absolutely. It's nuanced for sure. Like, where do we even begin with untangling all of this?
I think a good starting point would be Instagram's terms of service, right? Those lay out the ground rules.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. Essentially, the TOS say that you own the content you post, but you also grant Instagram a license to use it.
Okay, that makes sense. Instagram needs to be able to, actually display that content.
Right. But then downloading throws a wrench in things. Downloading for your own personal use is generally considered acceptable, like saving a funny video or something inspirational.
Gotcha.
But redistributing that content without the creator's permission, that's a definite no-no.
So no reposting it on your own feed, no sharing it on other platforms.
Exactly. And definitely no using it for commercial purposes. It's all about respecting the original creator and their intentions.
Right, even though it feels like it's just floating out there in the digital world, it's still someone's creation.
It could be their livelihood, too, if they're monetizing their work.
That's true. It's easy to forget about that when you're just clicking a button.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like, we have to remember that there's a human being on the other side of that screen.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But on top of the copyright thing, there's also the whole privacy issue.
Oh, yeah. Especially when it comes to those third-party downloaders.
You know the ones where they ask you to log in with your Instagram account?
Those always make me nervous. It's like,
True.
who knows where your information might end up?
Totally agree. It's like a trade-off convenience for your personal data. Not a great deal in my book.
Right. So it's always best to be cautious. If you're thinking about using a third-party downloader, do your research first.
Yeah, check their privacy policies, see what they're doing with your data.
Definitely. Make sure you're comfortable with what you're signing into.
It seems like Instagram itself isn't too keen on all this downloading either. I mean, they've been rolling out all sorts of features to try and keep people from going outside the app.
It's like a constant battle. They're always adding new things.
So it's Instagram versus the downloaders. That's kind of an interesting dynamic.
It really is. Like, if everyone is downloading stuff to watch or share elsewhere, that means less engagement on Instagram itself.
Which obviously isn't great for them.
No, not at all. They want to keep people glued to their platform. So what did they come up with to combat this? Well, for one, saving posts to collections is super easy now.
Right, so you can revisit stuff you like without having to download it.
Exactly. Plus, sharing options are way better now. You can easily send videos to friends right through Instagram's messaging.
And for Reels, there's that add to story option.
So you can incorporate content you like into your own stories. No downloading required.
It's like they're saying, hey, we've got all you need right here.
Exactly. No need to venture out into the risky world of third-party downloaders.
But is it enough? I mean, are all those in-app alternatives going to actually stop people from downloading?
That's the big question. I'm not sure. It's tough to break those habits once they're formed.
Plus, let's be real, sometimes you do want to have that actual file on your phone.
I get it. Sometimes you want to do your own editing, share it offline, or just have it as part of your personal collection.
Right. It's about that feeling of, like, ownership.
Exactly. Sometimes the built-in options just don't cut it. But even with all these ethical and logistical issues we've been talking about,
People are still finding ways to download.
oh yeah, definitely. It's like that old saying, where there's a will, there's a way.
So true. And speaking of ways to download, we can't forget about the classic method, screen recording.
The OG. It might not be the most elegant solution, but it gets the job done.
For sure. I'll admit, I've definitely done my fair share of frantic screen recordings when a story I wanted to save was about to expire.
Oh, I've been there too. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Uh-huh, exactly. But with all these different methods and the way Instagram keeps changing, what does the future hold for video downloading? It's like, what's next?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's almost like trying to predict the future. I mean, technology is always evolving.
Yeah, things are changing so fast.
On the one hand, there are some crazy advancements in video compression. Like, there are these new codecs that can, like, squeeze more quality into smaller file sizes.
So downloads will get even faster.
Probably.
Yeah.
And who knows what other innovations are coming down the pipeline.
Right. There could be entirely new ways of capturing and sharing video that we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
Huh.
But then, on the other hand, Instagram is always adapting too.
They've got to keep up, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're constantly monitoring how people are using the app
Yeah.
and trying to stay ahead of the game.
So it's like this constant back and forth.
It really is. The downloaders are trying to find new ways to download, and Instagram is trying to find new ways to keep them from doing it.
It's like a digital arms race. So who's going to win?
That's tough to say. It's not really about winning or losing. It's more about finding that balance.
Balance between what, exactly?
Well, between giving people a good user experience, but also protecting Instagram's own interests.
Yeah, they're a business after all.
Exactly. So they have to find a way to make everyone happy. If they could figure out a way to offer downloads that works for both users and the platform,
That would be pretty genius.
it would. It'd be like the ultimate win-win situation.
So it's a complex situation, lots of moving parts.
It really is. Trying to predict the future is always a gamble, but it's definitely interesting to think about.
For sure. Okay, so I think the key takeaway here is that this whole video downloading thing, it's more than just clicking a button.
Right. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you think about, like, the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that brings us back to something the article touched on that, I don't know, I found really fascinating, this whole idea of like the future of video downloading. It's like peering into a crystal ball, you know?
Oh, I love a good crystal ball prediction. So what do we see when we gaze into this future? What's in store for Instagram video downloads?
Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, technology is a big factor. Like we're seeing crazy advancements in video compression tech, new codecs popping up all the time.
Codecs, right?
Yeah, they can basically pack more quality into smaller file sizes, which is pretty wild when you think about it.
So, like, downloads could become even faster and smoother.
Exactly. And who even knows what other innovations are right around the corner?
Right. It's like the future is full of possibilities.
Totally. I mean, we might even see completely new ways to capture and share video content that we can't even imagine right now.
Oh, that's exciting. But it sounds like Instagram might have some tricks up its sleeve as well, right? They're not just going to sit back and watch all this happen.
Definitely not.
Hmm.
Instagram is like a master of adaptation. They're always watching, analyzing trends, tweaking things to stay ahead of the curve.
So what could they do? What kind of changes could we see from Instagram?
Well, they might introduce features that make downloading, I don't know, less tempting. Or who knows, maybe they'll even surprise us and offer official download options someday.
Whoa, that would be a huge shift. What do you think would make them do that? Like, what would be their motivation?
Well, I think it all comes down to finding that sweet spot.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, like balancing a seamless user experience with their own, business goals.
Right, they are a company at the end of the day.
Exactly. So it's about finding a way to make everyone happy, the users and the platform itself. If they could offer downloads in a way that benefits both sides.
It would be a genius move.
Right, it'd be a win-win for everyone involved. But, it's tricky. This whole thing is like a delicate dance.
A dance between what?
Well, between what users want, what technology allows, and what Instagram decides is important.
Wow, that's a really good way to put it. It's not just about downloading videos, it's about all these different forces at play.
Exactly.
Well, folks, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Instagram video downloading. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the practical how-tos to the ethical considerations, and even a glimpse into what the future might hold.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. So next time you find yourself hovering over that download button, just remember, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Take a moment to think about why you're doing it, what the consequences might be, and how this seemingly simple action could be shaping the future of the online world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Keep asking those questions, stay informed, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to predict what happens next in this crazy digital landscape.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy downloading, everyone.